This is community television from Parsippany, New Jersey, Channel 3. We're video on the go.
Cross your fingers and hold your heart. It's curtain time and away we go. Another opening of another show. Another hosting, another show. In Disney Boston, a Baltimore. A chance to stay close, to say hello. Another opening of another show. Another job that you hope and last will make your future forget your past. Another page where the ulcers roll. Another opening of another show. Oh, it's so rehearse and rehearse. Please, and it couldn't be worse. But it will never be right. And all of the happens at the first night. Oh, it's about to start. You cross your fingers and hold your heart. It's curtain time and away we go. Another opening of another opening of another.
Brigadoon, the current production at the Barn Theater. This is Elisa Kennedy for Video on the Go with Backstage, Onstage at the Barn Theater. In a few moments, I'm going to show you some scenes from the current production, Brigadoon, the Lerner and Loewe musical, which is currently playing at the Barn Theater. After you take a look at these beautiful scenes, we're going to be talking with Ken Anspach, who built the set for Brigadoon.
And I shall try to be a fine and loving wife.
Well, go on, kiss her, lad. I'm sure Mr. Forsyth would have liked to be here for this. But if you'll both be good and true to one another, you canna help but be blessed by the grace of God. And I'm sure Mr. Forsyth would ask nae more than that.
Are we married yet, Mr. Lundy?
Are we married yet, Mr. Lundy? Aye, lad, you're married.
Son, it was a nice wedding, wasn't it?
The bride! The bride!
Brigadoon, as you may know, is set in the Scottish Highlands. Today I'm talking with Ken Anspach, who built the set for Brigadoon. Ken, thanks so much for coming on very short notice.
Delighted to be here.
Ken, this was a particularly pretty set with trees and greenery, but I believe it was an intricate set. Can you tell us a bit about the special features and how all this came about?
Well, this set was an unusual set in that we wanted a rustic appearance, set in the 1800s, Scottish. Practically all the surfaces of the set were done by the decor people with chicken wire and paper mache, then painted. So my set was basically a framework on which this material could be placed. However, the pieces are movable. They have to support actors. There are platforms 18 inches above the floor that people can run on. So there was quite an elaborate understructure on these sets that had to be revolving around pivots on the stage, building up to a surface then that could be covered with this paper mache. And it has trees and houses and rocky effects and steps to get off of these platforms onto the stage floor. And all this had to be built into the understructure of the set. You see very little of the work that I actually did when you look at the set.
Well, there are 7 movable pieces, as you told me, and those are quite visible. You built those,
Yeah, these are carts, the smaller carts, the merchant's carts, the wool cart, the meat cart, and so on. The boat, the well, and the bridge. These pieces come on stage and come off again according to the action required.
How long did it take? When did you start building the set of Brigadoon?
Well, we actually started about, let's say, during the first week of October, and we worked 4 weeks on it, but not 4 weeks full time. This is part-time work. Our primary set construction days are Wednesday nights and Saturdays, and we snuck in a few extra days when the stage wasn't being used for rehearsals.
How many people did you have working with you?
I had about, from 8 to 10 people working with me.
Each time? Each session?
Well, it varies. You couldn't get the same people all the time, but I had on a particular occasion 5, 6, 7 people working with me. But all told, I had about 8 people, 10 people came to help me.
How much interaction is there, say, with lighting people as far as, the set construction person? Do you have to interact with the lighting person a lot? Or?
Not a great deal, except that the lights have to be set during the set construction period, and when they're setting the lights, quite often all the features of the set aren't there. So we have to anticipate for the lighting person to tell them that there's going to be a certain tree or some other feature that'll be perhaps causing a shadow or a light problem, so that the lighting person is aware of these upcoming things when they do their light setting.
Would you say Brigadoon was one of the more difficult sets you've built? I know you've built quite a few at the Barn Theater. Was this particularly difficult? Or?
Well, it was rather difficult in the sense that you had to have these revolving platforms that had to revolve well without blocking or without stopping or without squeaks. They had to carry quite a lot of weight, and they're rather big for revolving pieces too. So they had to be well designed from the chassis and well constructed from the chassis on up to the platforms, up to the chicken wire process that I described before.
How do they move? How do you get them to move?
Well, these are on, they're built primarily on chassis that we made of 2x4s, 2x4 frames that basically outlined the set, and we put industrial casters under these that are angled towards the pivot so that they can go all the way around facing the pivot.
Is it electrical or is it manpower?
Strictly manual. There's knobs and handles so that the stage crew backstage can grab certain parts of the set and turn it. Yeah.
How many years have you been at the Barn? How many years have you been building sets?
I've been active at the Barn from the backstage technical point of view for about 5 years. I was a member of the Barn 2 or 3 years before that, but in terms of this activity, about 5 years.
Yeah. And what are some of the other sets you've built?
Well, this year I worked on, I did the set for Vanities, and previously I had done the set for, I Can't Hear You When the Water's Running, and I did the set for Chapter 2 last year, and I've been on construction crew for many of the other sets.
Yes, that happens at the Barn. You come in to see a show and you wind up working.
This year I've done 2 major shows in sequence. Yes.
Do you have any plans for the rest of the year, or you're going to take it easy?
Well, I will help. I don't have any plans to be involved as a major responsibility for the coming shows, but I certainly will be involved in the technical backstage assistance.
Right, yes. Right. There may be some people out there in our television audience who might be interested in getting involved. You're looking for any more any more help?
We would like to have all the help we can. People that can saw wood or hammer nails or paint or do anything in that area. If they would call the Barn Theater, we'd love to have their names and we can use them. Yeah.
if they call 334-9320, I know that's a box office number, but they can probably get...
If they leave their name and number, it'll be passed along to us, and we can follow up, or the people doing set construction or decor for the rest of the season can follow up on that. Yes.
Right. Are you currently involved on the board of directors also?
No, I was on the board of directors up until June of this last summer, and then I ran. That was the end of my term, so I'm no longer on the board. Yes.
Okay. Well, is there any one particular person that these inquiries should be directed to?
Well, Roger Clark is the Onstage chairman, and he has the responsibility for having an inventory of people that can help in the crew sense, so that if they leave their name with our service, it would be passed along to Roger Clark, and then he would recruit them himself or give the names to the people responsible for the oncoming shows.
Very good. What's coming up after Brigadoon? What's the next major production?
Next show is going to be Death Trap.
That should be interesting.
That has a very interesting set, too.
Yes, yeah.
It's a different kind of a set than the previous two shows, but unique in its own way and interesting, yes.
Right. Well, Ken, I thank you very, very much for being with us. As I said, it was short notice, and I'm very glad you came and told us a bit about this beautiful set.
Well, I enjoyed being here.
Thank you. We'll see you at the barn. We're going to be taking a look at a few more scenes from Brigadoon, and then we'll be talking with two of its stars, Sal Ruggiero and Jean Trunsolito.
Hello? Could you tell us where we are?
Of course I can tell you where you are. You're in Brigadoon.
Brigadoon?
Aye?
That's funny, there's no town called Brigadoon on the map.
You shouldn't be surprised.
You mean you know it's not on the map?
Aye?
It's a little snobbish of you, don't you think? Why isn't it on the map?
For a good and sound reason.
What are you all dressed up for? Today the day to take pictures of postcards?
We're not dressed up.
You mean you always go around with all those clothes on?
No.
Now, come on. Somebody. What's going on here? What is this?
Well, we're having a fair.
Oh. Say, is that milk you're selling there?
Aye.
Can I buy some? I'm thirsty. We've been walking all night.
Well, I'd have to see your money first.
What? What'd you give him? A hunk of uranium? Just a shilling. What a loony layout this is.
It's very interesting, sir. But it does me no good.
What do you mean it does you no good? Tell me something that will.
I cannot tell you anything. However, if you're thirsty, I'll give you some milk.
Never mind. I don't want any favors.
I see from the coin that you're from England.
No, we're from America.
You're Americans?
Well, I am. He's from Georgia. Come on, boy.
We didn't mean to act so strangely. We're just a wee bit taken aback. People didn't come here very often.
I can understand why. You people stare at us as if we dropped in from another world. Does that amuse you?
Very much. Quiet, May.
Obviously the daughter of two first cousins. Because I have a sensation I'm hearing my own secret being told.
You mean you think you're in love with me?
Oh, think. What could this thinking do? If I thought about it, it wouldn't make any more sense than a miracle. What I feel is something else.
What do you feel then, Tom?
This is hard to say, but as I wandered through the league, I felt for just a fleeting moment that I suddenly was free of being lonely. Then I closed my eyes and saw the very reason why. I saw a man with his head bowed low. His heart had no place to go. I looked and I thought to myself with a sigh, there but for you go I saw a man walking by.
I'm talking with two of the stars of Brigadoon, Gene Trunsolito and Sal Ruggiero, who play two New Yorkers who come to Scotland and find themselves back in the 18th century. Gene, I understand this is your first show at the Barn Theater.
First time.
And you're playing the lead, Tommy Albright.
That's
in
right.
this. How did you come to the Barn?
Through someone I know who I met at the Barn, who told me about the tryouts, who I met at another community theater show, and I guess that's the way these things usually go.
Yes, yeah, one thing leads to another. Do you have a background in theater or music?
This past year I started trying out for some of the local community theater shows. I was in a few shows in Montclair with the Montclair Operetta Club. I was in a show with the North Jersey Musical Theater in West Caldwell. But prior to that, it was a long time in between shows. The last show I did was actually in high school.
Well, you have a very, very nice singing voice. I thought you may have had voice training or...
I started that just this year.
You did?
And I guess that was an offshoot of trying out for some of the local shows.
Right. So does that mean you're planning on doing more after Brigadoon?
I hope so.
Yeah. Sal, you've been around theater for a long time, haven't you, in this area? Where are you from?
Mount Olive.
And how long have you been doing things at the Barn Theater?
A year. The first show was She Loves Me last year this time.
And your major in college was theater, was it not? Fine arts? Fine arts. Where did you go to school?
Montclair State College.
How did you find the Barn Theater? How did the Barn Theater find you, I might
Well,
say?
I knew the musical director of She Loves Me, and somebody got sick, and I came in 2 weeks before the show opened and got the part.
And you're very much involved in theater in your, shall I say, your daily life, your private life.
I work for the New Jersey Shakespeare Festival in Madison.
And I should know that because Sal and I worked sort of together last year at the Shakespeare Festival. Yeah, so that you two fellows didn't know each other before Brigadoon.
Met in auditions.
Yeah. And you're old buddies in this show. How do you find working with? Did you develop a friendship with the people you work with, or is it once the show is over, or once the rehearsal is over, everybody goes their own way, or how do things work?
I find that working on something like this, you develop friendships very quickly. You're working on something long hours. It's trying at times. It's exhaustive at times. Mentally, it's exhausting. Physically, it's exhausting. And you tend to develop very strong friendships, and that's part of the reason I enjoy going out for these shows, and I'm sure everyone else does.
Yeah, I think that's part of community theater. It becomes a labor of love, but a very rewarding social situation.
Most people are something else. Most people are accountants and office workers and everything else. And this is something that they do because they enjoy it. It's more or less a hobby. But there's so much talent around. It's a good way to showcase all that talent that perhaps never makes it to the professional level. On the other hand, there are people involved in this show and other shows I've been in that most definitely have the talent to be professionals and are looking that way.
That way, right, yeah. You are a lawyer, is that correct? Yes, that's unusual. Although I think at the Barn, within the last 3 months, I've come across 3 lawyers who are very much involved. It's our musical director, Jim Horan, is studying to be a lawyer.
Studying in my alma mater, Seton Hall.
Oh, really?
His last year.
And the gal who's in charge of Backstage production, Barbara Morgan, also is a lawyer. Sal, you are a musical. I think I've caught you in a few before. Or do you have a preference? Do you prefer one over the other, musical productions or straight plays? Or
Not really, but musicals they're fun because there's more people involved. And I myself usually don't sing, and I don't have a song in this show. I'm the clown, I guess.
Yeah. You play at times an inebriated gentleman. Is that difficult to pull off?
At times. At times it's easy.
When he's not inebriated.
I know you've done some directing. How do you feel about that? Do you prefer one thing over the other, or do you like to act as well? Or
as well. They're both very different and enjoyable. I did the playwriting competition play last year at the Barn, and it was fun.
Was that your first, or had you done some other directing?
I directed before at other theater groups, but that was the first time at the Barn.
Now, how about directing a brand new original? Is that more of a challenge than something that's tried and true, do you find?
I think so, because you have to start from your own mind. You know, what the script is and what you see.
Your own concept.
Nothing you can see from, looking at the old movie.
Right. Do you have plans for the rest of the year at the Barn or elsewhere? Or nothing?
Not really. Nothing definite right now. I'll probably try out for a couple other shows and maybe direct one of the workshops.
That's what we've got. There's another playwriting competition coming up.
January, I think
they start. Possibly a March production, something like that. Yeah. How about yourself, Gene? Right at the Barn, is there anything that you see up the line this year that you might
Barn is going to have a very interesting show next year, Sweeney Todd.
Yes.
Which I don't know that it's been done, or at least I haven't seen it done in any local theater groups in this area. And that's a wonderful show, a hard show, and I'm anxious to try out for that, and if I don't make it, I'm anxious to see it.
Yes, that promises to be a very exciting production. That's in May, I believe. Production is in May. We'll be having auditions before that. I did want to tell the television audience that they still have an opportunity to see Brigadoon. There are 2 more performances with plenty of seats available. One this coming weekend and one Thanksgiving weekend. If you would like to get tickets for Brigadoon, please call 334-9320. You may make a reservation, and you will see a production that is most worthwhile. Very, very pretty. The music is beautiful. I love the costumes. You fellas don't get to wear any of the fancy costumes. You're in modern-day dress, but most of, I guess the rest of the cast wear kilts and plaids and tartans. It is set in 1782, I believe, most of it, except when we're back in New York in 1982. So it is a very, very colorful production. And I was delighted. I enjoyed both of you, and I enjoyed the whole show. And I want to thank you very much for coming and visiting with me today.
Thank you.
This is Elisa Kennedy for Video on the Go. See you at the Barn Theater.
In most villages, this would be a disastrous thing. But we know 'tis a blessing that according to the